Session 11 is built to help you begin to execute. So I'm just going to run through this. We will do more of this on our calls together over the 4 weeks that we're together. Again, we're going to give you about 30 days just to solidify stuff before we start meeting to have our calls. So just know, we may actually get past the new year before we start actually having our calls, because I want to give you guys time. It's just been wet cement right now. The cement needs to dry. You need to go back and look at it. But here's the deal, just as far as big picture. In your life, here's what I want to empower you to do. I want to empower you to be proactively reactive in your life. So many times when it comes to our lives, we're either fully proactive, meaning we got a plan, come hell or high water, that's what's going to happen. Doesn't matter that our life just fell apart in the middle of it. We're going to hit that plan regardless. Or we're totally reactive, so that anything comes into our life, it knocks us off bearing. What we want to equip you to do with your life plan is not to fall into the categories of either just proactivity or reactivity. We want you to be proactively reactive with your life, meaning, hey, this is as clear as I know right now how to state the trajectory of my life. This is the path that as much as I know right now, I'm walking on, but there's always going to be things that intersect our lives, and we want to create a process that is at least reactive enough to not get so static, saying, hey, I declared this, and I can't ever move off it. And say, no, there's been some things that have changed in my life, so we want you to constantly be able to be reactive, even though you've got a proactive direction that you're moving in. So before we end this time, here in Session 11, we want to talk about this last master tool. It's the life-making cycle. All of Journey 3 will be living this out in productive and proactively reactive ways, all right? But I just want to walk you through it. Before we get there, page 54, just as in a way of putting things in front of you, page 54 is a special sheet of paper. This is the life plan snapshot that will allow you to get everything we've done on one piece of paper. All right, so if you look at page 54, you can put your life call over here, your life core here. You can put your 4 emphases. You can write in your storylines. You can even say where they're at currently, and you can fill out your life plan. And so literally on one piece of paper, you can have your life frame, your personal vision frame, and your life plan in front of you. By the way, I recommend you frame this, or you put it in front of your desk. You keep it in a folder that you can easily get access to. You want access to it. And just to be quite frank with you, go back through the process and say, what are the things that you want to keep in front of you? So, for instance, my wife Kim and I keep our 2 words on our nightstands at our bed. So I go to bed every night and I'm looking at fostering congruence. And she goes to bed every night and it's intentionalizing integration. We keep that in front of her. Kim keeps her mission and values in front of her. I mean, you saw them hanging on our wall, different things. It's in front of her because we want to be able to internalize it. This snapshot, life plan snapshot, is just our way of saying, literally, you can get it all on one piece of paper, you can have it in front of you, and you can have easy access to all that work. I mean, we're now 200 pages in to work that we could all summarize on one piece of paper right here. Secondly, then, on page 55, this is what we will work through in the next times that we're together online, and really all of Journey 3 is about this. It's what we call the life-making cycle. It's the last of our major tools, of our master tools. And now you can notice that the vision frame and the horizon storyline, we can go ahead and put the picture in here, is at the center of this. And so now the execution plan, the execution rhythm, is what the life-making cycle is about. I'm just going to walk you through it quickly. And then this is what session 11 is, and we'll be done here. But it starts with reflecting weekly. That every week, we're going to recommend that you have a 20-minute time where you just look over your frame and say, how did it go this week? If you look inside of session 11, we've actually got tools for you. We've got a sheet of paper right here, if you look at page 58, that gives you a way weekly to look at your plan. It has your 4 storylines in there. It says, hey, am I thriving, surviving, reviving those storylines this past week? It looks at your 90-day goal and says, am I on target for that? Am I behind schedule? Am I ahead of schedule? It gives you a blank to fill out. What unexpected obstacles did I hit this week? What new ideas for how I'll approach next week did I come up with? And then a 4-sentence prayer, just basically saying, thanking God for who he is, for what he's done, asking for guidance and empowerment. Every week, you can go to this piece of paper for your weekly reflection. Here's why this is important, guys. And again, I will do this online with you. But if you haven't watched the video called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, it's a 16-minute video. You need to watch it. I mean, it's incredibly important because here's what the 4 Disciplines of Execution say. They say in every organization, I would say this in personal life, there are things that are urgent and things that are important. And when the urgent stuff hits the important stuff, the urgent stuff wins. These things are in conflict in every organization and in our lives, and when the urgent and important conflict, oftentimes the urgent wins. When it's talking about this inside of a company, the urgent is what they describe as the whirlwind. It's all the stuff in the organization that has to happen to keep the lights on. What some people refer to as the real work of the organization, right? And to just get an idea of how strong the whirlwind could be, just think about this. If your organization had no goals, would everyone still be busy? And the answer is yes, right? It's still people are not looking for new things to do, right? There's just stuff going on. And if we're not careful, the whirlwind will dictate everything that we do. But there's the important. We call these the wildly, in organization, you call these the wildly important goals. This is what your life plan is. It's in the wildly important goal piece of what you're trying to accomplish. Well, in regard to organizations, what happens a lot of times is people get so caught in the whirlwind, they never get to implement on the important pieces. And so one of the strategies that they have in there, and again, we'll talk through this in depth in our times together later, is to say one of the most important things you can do is to have a weekly 20-minute meeting where all you're talking about is the wigs. The whirlwind's not allowed to enter that meeting. Even if the building's on fire, the whirlwind is not allowed to enter that meeting. And in this meeting, you do 3 things. 1, you report out on what you did last week toward the wildly important goals. 2, you check the scorecard to see if anything is moving because of what you've done. 3, you say what you're going to do this week to move toward the wildly important goals. It's a 20-minute meeting, and it's the most efficient thing you can do inside of a company to make sure that the whirlwind doesn't take over everyone's schedules. We've taken that same philosophy to say, in your personal life, the most important thing you can do is give 20 minutes. We call it a stand-up meeting. When I was at 3DM running the company, one of the things that we did as a company, we had a 20-minute stand-up meeting once a week where we're reporting out what we call our must-win battles, those different kinds of things. It's a stand-up meeting because I didn't want anyone to get comfortable. We're not going for an hour. We're not going for 2 hours. It's just a 20-minute stand-up meeting, and we're reporting out like this. Same thing. We want you to have a 20-minute stand-up meeting with yourself on a weekly basis and say, all right, here's the stuff that's important. I've got all this other whirlwind. That's my life that's happening. But how do I make sure on a weekly basis I'm doing reflecting on my life plan? From there, what's that? From there, we move to allocation daily. Now, we don't have any tools for this because we think this is going to be different for every single person. We're not asking you to do something on a daily basis. But you are allocating the things that you're doing weekly on a daily basis. Say, here's when I'm going to get these things done. So the daily piece is that, okay, all right, I may not be spending 24 hours a day working on my life plan, but what is it today that I can do to move me in that direction? What we do provide tools for is planning quarterly. So on a quarterly basis, you're looking at your 90-day goal and revamping your 90-day goal, and you're revamping your 4 strategies. So your table at the bottom of your life plan is getting revamped every 90 days. And we recommend that you take between 2 and 4 hours to do that. Again, in your tool sheet here in session 11, there's a tool designed for your 90-day goal or your 90-day quarterly planning guide. It's on page 59. That'll help you begin to reflect. It goes on to page 60. You notice on page 60, it takes all your storylines, and you could take your weekly reflecting guide and say, all right, was I thriving, surviving on week 1? Was I thriving, surviving week 2? You're going to be able to see some patterns. You're going to be able to see, hey, when the bottom fell out in these last 90 days, or when you actually came out of the wilderness last time. We're just charting that on a quarterly basis to look for patterns as we go into our next 90 days. And then you get a chance to just take a look at the bottom of your frame and to rebuild that for the next 90 days of execution. Does it make sense? So you're doing that quarterly, and then finally, you're retreating annually. And in the annual piece, you're just going back through your assessments, adding any other assessments you want to do. You're going back through and you're revisiting the whole vision frame to say, is this still as clearly as I can articulate? It's in the annual piece that you can go back and revisit your life call and your life core, your life score, your storylines, and say, all right, that's what I was doing last. Is this still as clear? Did I get any more clarity? Do I need to shift up my 2 words at all? Do I need to shift up any language in regard to my life call? And we recommend, a day or two, a year on a 1 or 2 days, to just take a look at this annually and just make sure, okay, what do I need to shore up? What do I need to change? Is there anything in my values I need to shift a little bit? Do I need to add a value? Do I need to, what do I need to do on that? And so we're constantly, again, reworking the prototype. But here's what we're not doing. This is really important. What we're not doing is changing our life call and life core every 90 days or every week. Please don't do that. There's a reason these are on the vertical, and that's because they're built for time to withstand and to be on the vertical axis in a way that's not changing as much. There's a reason this stuff is on the horizontal. It denotes the kind of changing consistently and constantly on that. So these parts of the frame you're looking at a yearly basis. These parts of the frame you're taking a look at every 90 days and saying, what are the strategies? How am I doing in regard to thriving, surviving, reviving my storyline? How do I live faithfully in the middle of that? So we're doing that on 90 days. On the yearly piece, I'm taking a look at my frame and coming back to continuing to build out. Remember, on the year, you're not just doing the 90-day revamp, but you're going up to the top now, and you got to renew your yearly piece, the 1 year background horizons. You're going to put new ones into that. Does that make sense? So this is just a cycle. And literally, what we'd love to see is groups get together on a weekly basis, and you'll be able to say, all right, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing in living this stuff out? How you doing in executing? Again, we'll revisit this stuff a month from now when we're in our 4 sessions online. But I wanted to give you a heads up just so that you could see the execution part of this. And then, like I said, Journey 3 is going to be all about making this happen on a regular basis. So it's going to be advancing your future. That's what Journey 3 is all about. It's about advancing your future. We've articulated our identity. We've activated our calling now. And Journey 3 is about advancing our future. It's about living this out. We want to take everyone through at least one 90-day cycle so that you get in the habits of doing this on a regular basis. That's what Journey 3 is all about. There'll be lots of discipleship opportunities in the middle of that as you try and live it out. Things get in your way. Things come up. That's what Journey 3 will really jump into.